All right, can we stop talking about Jermichael Finley here? Wrap this thing up with tight ends here. Dalton Kincaid. Chris, I'm going to hit this for you because I think you have a little disagreement here with Joe. Chris hates Dalton Kincaid.
I am a Kincaid hater. Look, it's about a guy who I do not think is generational talent, who I do think presents Austin Hooper to my book. Look, I know Dalton Kincaid's everybody's flavor of the year right now. They all impressed what he did last year. He's going to be the number one receiver one. He had 91 targets. He had 73 catches last year. He had 670 yards receiving. So let me say that one more time. 73 catches for 670-something yards. That's Juju Smith-Schuster type of numbers. We're talking about yards per catch. He had 2 touchdowns. Chased up with the 2 touchdowns. And, the running backs had James Cook. Well, tight end wasn't catch touchdown passes for them either because he only had 2 as well. When Joe Brady took over, and there's also coincides with what some people are going to say about the Dallas Knox stealing the snaps. Well, Dallas Knox does steal the snaps. You know why? Because Dallas Knox can block. Dawson Knox is a guy who can block. A guy who wound up getting about 40 to 50% of the snaps last year when he returned back to being healthy. Before that, when Dalton Kincaid was getting a majority of the snaps, and which maybe could happen again this year, he was seeing a lot of his snaps in the slot receiver position. Shakir plays a slot. Curtis Seaman plays the slot. Coleman plays the slot. Dawson Knox, like I said, is still there. They have Cook out of the backfield. A team's committing to running the ball a lot more. I just don't see this huge upside. Maybe he gets suddenly way more targets, but he had 91 last year. I know people are going to talk about him getting more playing time, but he started in the beginning of the season. For the first 4 games, he played over 75% of the snaps when Dawson Knox was there. So it wasn't like he was just, phased out in the end of the season because Dawson Knox came back. It was more so that you're certain things we think you're good at. And he saw even decent volume with, he's getting less snaps. But overall, the production to me is just not something I'm going to get excited about. As Joe talked about before, all these different tight ends, it's actually a good year to draft tight ends. We saw in David Njoku, we saw Ferguson, we saw Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts had 20 less catches, but still only had 1 less yard than Dalton Kincaid did last year. So there's a lot more upside all around, I think, the tight end board. And I'm just not buying the Dalton Kincaid.
Well, I don't want to get out of the argument, but Chris and I have Dalton Kincaid ranked in the same spot, which is tight end 8. Because now I think he's going to be, look, he had 91 targets as a rookie last year, and he barely did anything in the first month of the season. So again, the vacated targets, and this is, I don't like saying this because it's a little lazy fantasy, but there's so many targets that were gone from Stephon Diggs leaving that they are going to trickle down at the very least, where he is going to be over 100 this year. And when you have a tight end, like he's the only investable tight end in this, division, period. Like that's it. He's the fantasy guy, but I still have him at 8, and I'm a much bigger Kyle Pitts guy, obviously much higher on him. I'm not looking for Kincaid to, be a breakout star, generational talent. I thought Trey McBride and Kyle Pitts are certainly much better tight end prospects. Even Bowers, you can have that argument too, because he's got a lot of things you like about Brock Bowers. Problem is he doesn't play with Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid does. And I think Dalton Kincaid could find himself in a spot where he is playing more slot. He is playing more wide receiver. And that's just way too useful in fantasy. And that being said, I still have him at 8. So again, this is funny because we are 2 guys who are, one is negative on him, one is positive on him. But at the end of the day, we have him in the same ranking more because of where the tight end class is than necessarily where Dalton Kincaid is. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway to, from this conversation.
Yeah, so you both win and both lose because you're both the same.
Yeah. Awesome.
No, I'm just going to throw this out here, and this is where I have him just from a guy who has him at the market price, which is he's got him at ADP's tight end 5. I got him at 6, one spot lower. The way I'm looking at this is that 8 to 12 week stretch where Dawson Knox was out, Kincaid was a starter. He was a tight end 4 overall during that stretch. His 17 game pace during that stretch, which I mean, yeah, it's a little theoretical. I get it, but the 17 game pace during that stretch would have had him second to Sam Laporta. It's just the usage that we saw when he got to be the lead guy. And I think we're going to see more of that, even with Knox on the field, than we got to see towards last year. That's where I think the upside comes from. But we got to wrap this up, and I got to hit the Underdog Specials. All right, so make sure you go to Underdog. First time, get your deposit by using the promo code FFAdvice. You'll get a $250 up to a $250 cash bonus and a free pick'em. So make sure you go to Underdog and use promo code FFAdvice. And today I got 3 for you pertaining to this division. I got Josh Allen over 27.5 passing touchdowns. He's been over that every year since his second year in the league. Tyreek Hill over 1,425 receiving yards. With McDaniels, he has never been less than 1,700. So we have a wide gap where he could even regress and still hit the over in that number. Garrett Wilson over 1,200.5. Do you think I was going to go lower? No, absolutely not. Over 1,200.5 receiving yards. He's been over 1,000 with the worst quarterback play I've ever seen. Yeah, so there's your Underdog specials there. Joe, to wrap us up here, man, what are you working on? What do you want people to go check out? I know you're working on everything, but
you just finished working on? Yeah. Working on a nap. That's what I'm working on. I got a flag football game to coach this afternoon for my daughter, so I got a lot of stuff going on there. We already clinched playoffs, so this is more just looking ahead.
Bill Belichick in the making here. What we got?
Well, I've already had 2 undefeated seasons championships, so Don Shula can suck on that. So there you go.
Don't make you defensive coordinator.
I don't hear you now, Mercury Morris. I don't see you calling me right now, trying to tell me about who did what. But yeah, we're. First of all, great having it on the show. I really appreciate it. Making the time for me to come on and going around my schedule. But yeah, Fantasy Pros right now, we're kicking into gear right now with the football content. Betting Pros going to have a ton of stuff. We have a lot of new stuff coming at you on the YouTube channels this year. It's going to be really exciting, fun stuff. Unfortunately, you're going to have a lot more of me and Derek Brown. So there you go. You have to live with that. But and the new Fantasy Football Black Book out there on Amazon right now. Go get it. Get smarter. Go get your black book, get ready, and great talking about football. I'm getting excited for the season. We're 90 days away. 90 days away. Let's go.
Let's do it. Joe, thank you so much for making the time to come on here. Always a great conversation with you. Well, one last question. Are you actually going to make the expo this year? I've been dying to see you at the expo. Still no?
That's
Still no.
The question. Like I'm contemplating that. I'm contemplating, am I going to the MLB All-Star game? Does the company want me to do that this year? Because we're talking about maybe doing that because the baseball channels. But see, everyone forgets I do baseball too. So my mind is completely scrambled eggs. Like it is not good, especially with all the, you have to know like 500, 600 players in Major League Baseball, not to mention then on top of all of the, the minor league players. It's like, it's a lot. I'm hopeful this year. It's 50-50. It's better chance than it's ever been. But the problem is, it's like everybody goes and who holds down the fort every year while everyone's having fun. It's this idiot. So we'll see. If I could get somebody to hold down the fort, then I just might have to do it. And if so, drinks are on you, Dan.
Absolutely. Well, I was already. I'm getting a beer for Pat, so I was gonna try to drink it to 2 of you guys.
That's the thing. It's like, do I want to spend 2 days in a room with Derek Brown? That's the big question.
Derek, I hope you're watching the show.
We're gonna be sharing a space together. It's very intimate. I don't know. He's gonna ask me to comb his beard. It's a whole thing.
Oh, it's fantastic.
He's my favorite. I love you, Derek.
Wink, wink. Guys, we're going to be back on Wednesday, 9:30. Anthony Servino is going to come on. We're going to talk about the NFC East, so I can't wait for that. Make sure you check us out on our YouTube channel, on the Fantasy Football Advice Network YouTube channel now, at FF Advice Network. Download Operation Domination. Any podcast that you listen to, make sure get our new content on the go. Subscribe. We're everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, and all that. You can see our tags are all on our screens. And if you listen on the podcast, just look for Operation Domination. We'll see you all soon. Hey there, I'm proud to say that Underdog Fantasy is the newest sponsor of our show, and it's my favorite place to play fantasy games. No waivers, no trades, no lineup settings, just best ball for season-long drafters all year long. And you gotta check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players. You can choose whether they go higher or lower on those stats, and if you can pick 5 in a row, you can win 20 times your money. Sound like fun? Well, guess what? You can sign up with promo code FFAdvice today to claim your special pick, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. I cannot wait to see your entries.